Welcome back to Catalan Soccer, guys. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how you can watch a game through a coach's eyes. We're going to look at all the top tips that will help you analyze real matches as you're watching them, professional games, and even watching your own grassroots teams to hopefully develop your players better by seeing the game through a coach's lens. Let's get straight into the video, guys, with tip number one. So tip number one is player cam. Now, player cam is all about focusing individually on one player for a small portion of the game. This actually used to be a feature on Sky Sports here in the UK, where they would let you single out an individual player, and for 10 to 15 minutes of a game, the camera would follow that player around. You spot some very interesting things when you just watch one individual. Now, when you're assessing an individual, you're looking out for different things like movement, you're looking out for how often they scan for the ball, you're looking for how they move away from danger and how they find spaces, and most importantly, you're looking for how they win the ball back and how they position themselves to try and recover possession. Now, the better the individual that you're watching, the better tips you will be able to pick up from them. So if you're watching someone like Kevin De Bruyne, you'll see a great central midfielder, great vision, very good awareness of what's going on around him. But if you're watching a young player, then you're watching for a different reason. You're watching to find out what mistakes they're making, what things they're not quite getting right, positions that they're getting into that might be causing them problems. So depending on the player that you're watching, the player cam will give you a different perspective, but can be a very useful one for coaches. Tip number two is to stop ball watching. Now, we coach this all the time to our players to not get caught watching the ball all the time and check for runners, check for spaces, check for dangers. But as coaches, as spectators of the game, it's very easy to just follow the ball, especially when we're watching through a TV camera. So make sure next time you're watching the game, you don't just follow the ball. We're looking at players, we're looking at units, we're looking at the opposition, we're looking at goalkeepers, all these little intricacies that you will miss if your eyes are solely on the ball. Now, obviously, you do need to look at the ball at some points, but don't focus on it too much and don't let all your attention be tracked around the ball. Make sure you're keeping an eye on players, movements, and spaces too. Tip number three is all about units. Now, aside from watching individual players or just looking away from the ball, what we need to do as coaches is see how teams move and interact as units. When we talk about units, we usually refer to three main units. That would be the defensive unit, the midfield unit, and the attacking unit. Now, there are times that these units will link up together and you might be concentrating on the defense and the midfield together, but the best way to do this as a coach when you're first starting out watching games in this way is to solely focus on one unit at a time. Say, for instance, you focus on the back four, the defensive unit, or the back five. We're looking at how the fullbacks move, how far apart are the centre-backs, how deep do they go when they're in possession, and how deep are they when they're out of possession. We're looking for recovery runs. We're looking at how often players drop off and make sure that they're not playing an offside trap. They're just making sure that they concede a little bit of their territory to make sure there's no runs in behind. Study the defensive unit and look away from the ball and concentrate on all the things that professional players do very well. That will help you when you're watching your own team, and you can use that as a comparison to see if your players are doing the right things, and you should see a direct difference between how the pros are doing it and how young children are doing it, and then you can help the kids act more like the pros by giving them tips based on what you've seen. When we look at midfield and attacking units, they're sometimes looked at individually or sometimes looked at collectively. But when we study these units, we're looking at spaces, we're looking at movements between players, we're looking at timing of runs, we're looking at how much width they play with. And all these little parts of the game will really start to stack up for the best teams to create a real big advantage over their opposition. If you're studying a striker, look at how often they run in behind a defender, how often they drop deep towards the ball. If we're looking at wingers, look how often they try to beat their man down the wing, or how often they cut inside, how often they play backwards towards a support player instead of going for the dribble. If we're looking at midfield and attacking midfield players, then look at how they combine with each other. Look at how they offer support angles for players behind them and in front. And look at how they're always on the move and always looking to receive the ball as best they can. Now, the next tip is all about communication. And throughout COVID, when players were able to talk and you could hear them because there was no crowds in the stadium, it made it much easier to witness this. It's a little bit more difficult now, but I promise you, if you study the game correctly and if you're watching it properly, you can see player communication. You can hear it sometimes. Most often you can see visual cues, whether that's pointing, whether that's open body language and shouting for the ball. But look how players communicate with each other and how often you see players shouting for the ball, giving instructions suggestions to teammate, even encouragement to teammates. All stuff that we miss sometimes because we're too busy listening to commentators or the crowd. Now, speaking of commentators, one of the best ways that a coach can watch the game is to switch them off. I sometimes mute the game when I watch it back because often commentators can, one, just ramble on about things that are nothing to do with either the game itself or actually the football match that you're watching. The second thing that commentators can do is bias your opinion. So when you start hearing commentators saying things, it can just sway your opinion towards thinking like that and ignoring things that you might actually think because you've been easily influenced by these so-called experts. So watch the game with no commentators and no punditry, and when you watch it, you will solely be focusing on what you see as a coach and what's happening on the pitch and in and around the pitch. And my final tip, guys, is to take notes. Now, even professional coaches that are working with players that they see every single day still sit at the side of football pitches with a notepad, and they will make notes as they watch the game. They're making observations on the opposing team, observations about individuals, observation about their entire team, observations that will really help them in halftime team talks, in post matches, and making sure that they're making notes to help players and to feed that back after the game or during the halftime. So if it's good enough for Mourinho, it should be good enough for you. You should be taking notes. Get a notepad, whether you're watching a live game where your team are playing, whether you're watching a professional game on the TV, or whether you're just watching some highlights of an old game and a compilation clip of some of the best things that you've seen on a pitch. Take notes, write things down. It will help you remember them. It will help you reference them, and it will help you with player feedback. Thank you for watching, guys. A big shout out to one of my subscribers, Josh Stewart, whose idea was this video. So big thanks, Josh, and big thanks to everybody else who's liked and subscribed so far. Please leave a like on this video. It really helps our channel, and we will hopefully see you all in the next one. See you soon.